I'm very excited about this topic because this is a special pre-HITEC live. So we're going to have a little bit of HITEC chit chat. I'm very, very pleased to welcome Kevin and Carlos here today. So we're going to talk about, you know, the best kept secret in hotel tech. But before we go into that, please, Kevin and Carlos, could you just introduce yourselves and tell us what you do?
Hi, guys. I'm Kevin Spruill. I'm currently the VP of Sales and Customer Success for CallTek, Inc.
Excellent. Yeah, Carlos Lugo, Gain Advisor, strategic side on the network infrastructure and cybersecurity side of things.
Fantastic. So we're going to learn a lot today. Before we go into that, yes, we do have HITEC coming up, and we were just having a little chat about that behind the scenes. So it's been a while, Kevin, right, since you went to HITEC. Are you excited?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. We were talking about the FOMO piece. It's nice to get back in there, so I'm excited about it. It's a good reunion. Yeah.
Definitely. That's me this year. Unfortunately, I'm not going, but I'm going to be getting major FOMO. I'll turn off LinkedIn while it's on. How about you, Carlos? Are you looking forward to the show?
I am looking forward to so many things, right? Some new tech, seeing all of our friends. And obviously, what are we working to solve for, right? So these are all fun conversations, and obviously, helping each other out, taking care of our partners and clients, etc. But it's always a good time, right? San Antonio is a wonderful city, and so what a great place to actually collaborate and figure out how to fix things.
Never better said. We're figuring out how to fix things. And things are changing at such a fast pace. We're going to see so many announcements over the next couple of weeks and so many new things. But the last 2 decades have seen major changes, especially, Kevin, in the area that you work in. It's just insane. We've had from Wi-Fi networks to like more complex hardware, voice, video, data, AI. Can you give us a little bit about the background of what CallTek has actually been doing in that time?
Oh, yeah. It's funny is Carlos and I have probably been in hotel tech space for a long time, and probably in the 1900s, as my kids say, right? But it's funny story is back, I guess it was around 2004, Marriott. I think it was Marriott. It might have been Hilton. I can't remember. One of the major brands said, hey, in order to keep brand consistency and experience, we need your integrators, which I was on the integrator side at the time, to provide Wi-Fi tech support to guests 24/7. And that sent all of us in kind of a tizzy of what do we do now, right? Because it could be pretty expensive to have, those kind of level 3 engineers on support 24/7. Tony, who was our founder at CallTek, had an idea that, hey, I'll cover your nights and weekends for the integrators. And lo and behold, here we are 25 years later, with the evolution of technology behind us. It's been pretty extensive, honestly.
Yeah, but Kevin, so I've kind of lived in the space for a while myself. You and I have worked together in the industry for a very long time and known each other for a long time. When you think about these converged networks now, right? Like exactly to what, Zoe was alluding to and what the brands kind of just keep bringing back to is, hey, we want to be able to introduce more and manage this. These converged networks now demand a whole lot from, these support companies, right? Like for, the guest, the admin network, whether the brand supports them or not, or now you got to get your own, managed service provider. How many more systems and devices in a single property will you think are being managed now compared to when they first started making all these converged networks? Situations happen, right, where everything now rides on the admin network. On the guest network, and bleeding into the admin and back and forth depending on what the situation is.
Yeah, it's exponential. It depends on the kind of scale, chain, economy of scale hotel you're talking about, if it's limited service or full service. But even limited service hotels have an extensive amount of networks on the, platforms, networks on the guest Wi-Fi network, right? And it's quite extensive. Smart thermostats, guest room entertainment, Some of them have blinds that are automatic, you name it, digital signage. It's all on there. And before it used to be, hey, let's cut off 2 channels over T1 for your internet, and that's all you needed. And now it's, gigabits of speed because of all the data going through that place.
Well, one of the things that I'm reminded of is that, speaking of the different segments you were talking about, let's talk limited service real quick. GMs, right? They're left to figure this out. They don't have a IT person on site, or they're at, they have a partner that supports their network, and sometimes they don't know who to go to, if it was the TV or if it was the Wi-Fi or the phone system, et cetera, or the property management system went down. What does that mean for like all these people that don't have support? And is CallTek someone that can help with things like these?
Yeah, it's the standard of guest experience, right, has gone from just get connected to the internet to now, like you mentioned, everything's connected to this. When you're looking at a single provider to support that entire converged element, and some of the brands have consolidated their certified providers to do just that, right? When you have that, it's quite extensive of I need someone to call, one person to call. And unbeknownst to most people, I think we're supporting about 85% of the US hotel population, and we went from, hey, is your Wi-Fi turned on, to now SOC 2 compliance, BCI compliance, full-fledged operating center with remote monitoring, the whole 9 yards, because we had to evolve with the technology stack.
No, that's great. Yeah, so those were like kind of the things that I wanted to know on, supporting 85% of what's out there. That's pretty impressive. Is a lot to know. And so, yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, the benefit of white labeling support, there's a staff augmentation component. There's a offshore, nearshore kind of cost savings for labor that comes into play. And so when you're able to provide an expertise to all of the above integrators, across the globe, not even just the US, and say, hey, we can answer the support calls. We can at least offset most of your labor and then escalate appropriately. And then the white label part is pretty cool because, we're answering on behalf of whomever we're talking about.
Excellent.
85% is an absolutely huge number. And I certainly wasn't aware of that before, we started talking. And I think that's why we decided, that the title of this live would be the best kept secret in hospitality IT, because
Right.
that is the majority, right? So you're looking, I'm understanding that you're looking, obviously hotels are looking to provide speed and efficiency, because they can't have their guest service, they can't have their Wi-Fi go down, not even for 5 minutes, not just for guest comfort, but for, as you say, all these systems that are running off the Wi-Fi that would actually affect their revenues, their payment systems, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously looking for cost savings within a hotel, because who can employ, a variable sort of, bench of people. One day it might be, I don't know, 20, I'm just guessing. Another day, in the same day, it might be 200, right? So you have to kind of have this ebb and flow of people supporting. What does that look like in terms of a business model? Because that's just massive to be able to provide that. It's incredible.
Extremely intimate partnerships with our integrators and our partners. MBRs and monthly business reviews. There's more like daily business reviews. There's a regular dialogue and conversation that comes up with our operations team, my team, and the integrators to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And we all know events. There's, we're trying to forecast volume, forecast, regions of pockets of HITEC, for example, right? Like there's going to be a lot of people in San Antonio, and we're going to need to make sure that we connect all these techies to the internet. There's going to be some pressure on. So we make sure that we're having that dialogue with all of our partners on a regular basis, and then adapting and trying to provide some sort of consultation, thought leadership, advice to our partners. Say, hey, this might be a good idea to try this route or this strategy, and it's like I said, very intimate.
Yeah, that sounds like a really important part of it as well, because a business doesn't survive for 25 years and grow and evolve in the way you have without having these trustful relationships. And then, like you say, actually giving proactive advice to your clients as to where they should be going, where they should be investing, maybe what types of technology they should be considering next. That's really interesting. But what I also find fascinating is the evolution. I'm a storyteller at heart. So I'm like, okay, so it goes from back in the day when you had dial up and one person's on the end of the phone to, oh my goodness, this is massive. We need to have this flexible base of actual people, which brings us on to, of course, the big elephant in the room, which is AI. Because today, if we want 24-hour on tap multilingual support, the logical step, of course, is, bringing at least a certain component of AI into that. So could you tell us a bit about what you're doing there?
That's a topic that's always been creeping up over the past couple of years, just creeping its way in. I think a lot of it started to rear around COVID, right? Because we had to get smart, we had to get efficient, we had to, our whole industry just kind of imploded for a little bit there because we didn't travel anywhere, right? So we had to get smart. The AI component and the learning component of maximizing that mean time to respond, or that mean time to repair a call, a troubleshooting call, is significant, because the agent's learning all of these little things that, you're in room 102 and you have this computer and you're at a Fairfield Inn or something, or Hilton, you're at a certain brand, and this is the next steps you have to take. The AI is helping the agent be prepared. So when the AI bot agents learning all of this and helping the first 65% of the call, then it's allowing us to maximize the response when a live agent actually comes on board, and there's enough data collected that it's like, okay, let's jump right into it. And then on top of that, having the ability to have the AI agent tell me, oh, you need to look into this gateway, and maybe the AAA setting needs to be reset, or, and my agent is being prompted this script without researching and, dual monitor looking up, what do I do next? Right. So it's maximizing that efficiency significantly.
Yeah, I will jump in there and say that, I think it sounds like, everybody's talking about AI is going to replace our jobs and all these other things. And I will just say that although there may be some components of a lot of repetitive things that happen in some different verticals, maybe some merit to some of that. But for us, I'm thinking more like, it sounds like this is just like making your engineers faster and more accurate, right? And not really replacing, right? And now it's like, okay, get me to the single source of truth. So my time to resolution or my time to repair is a lot faster, instead of me like shooting from the hip, trying to figure out where do we start here to troubleshoot. I will flip it to the other side, on the operation side, right? Where that fear may exist, but the reality is hospitality is always sentimental, right? So from the hotel operational side, you want the GM and their people to be answering least valuable calls or attacking least valuable repeatable tasks, so that you can be able to give a white glove treatment to your guests that are staying on property and give that undivided attention that they're looking for. So it sounds like it's more of a win situation, at least from the hospitality side, and when we're talking about support and white glove treatment, to what the skepticism may be out there.
I think ultimately the main goal for all of us is guest experience. And so if we can maximize that guest experience by utilizing these tools, we all win.
Absolutely. And that's the best use of AI that we can see out there, right? It's not a blanket, we're just going to speak to a robot situation. It's humans being augmented by unlimited knowledge, unlimited intelligence. And I guess that, you know, it probably depends on the type of client that you're dealing with, because different hotels have different brand standards. And, you know, I've worked with implementing chatbots before AI, you know, and it was, you know, high-end properties were quite wary of it because I guess it was in its infancy and everything, but also they did want that, like you say, Carlos, that white glove treatment. Whereas there might be other hotels that are absolutely happy to kind of go 80-90% AI, and there might be a more luxury property that goes just 20%. Have you found that, or is that something you've encountered with your clients, Kevin?
Yes and no. Yes, it's I think in our industry with hospitality tech, there's sometimes a little bit of a slower movement and progression, right? We try, but you know, we're always beholden to ROI and margins, and those controls are hard for all of us, right? And so we're trying to manage that appropriately with a, you know, getting a BMW at a Toyota type of, you know, margin, right? And that's difficult. So as well as the guest experience, you know, some people have different opinions and varying opinions of the guest experience is limited if you're talking to a robot, for example. But the advancement of what we've seen with the AI agents, you know, really in the past 4 or 5 years, 6 months even, is significant to where it sounds like I'm speaking to Zoe, right? There's no robot element. You would have no idea that you were talking to AI. Creepy, also really cool.
Yeah. Creepy and cool. Yeah, and I think there's what you're bringing up as well is a kind of perhaps a trust element. I was on a webinar recently where we spoke about the fact that, okay, maybe a hotel brand tried an AI agent 2 years ago, and they're like, oh, it doesn't work. Well, guess what? In the last 6 months, it has changed, you know, more than it probably has changed in the last 6 years. So it's worth, you know, revisiting all tech systems right now to see if they have improved, and pretty sure they have. So you're going to see all this at HITEC next week. So Kevin, what is your biggest prediction for the future of IT managed services and tech support, obviously, in hospitality?
That's a good one. My biggest prediction is probably the fact that we will be converged all into one component that will be artificially intelligent of some degree. We will be able to utilize our human element for exactly what it's supposed to be, the guest experience. And we will eliminate a lot of the problems that we've had to experience in this growth trajectory of, you know, one size fits all IT, if you will, right? And so the GM is no longer going to have to worry about tech support. They'll be able to handle that off to somebody like us.
Brilliant, because most hoteliers went into hospitality to provide hospitality, not to be tech experts like yourselves. And, you know, I think that's one of the things that can be confusing and a bit overwhelming for hoteliers. So I love that. What about you, Carlos? What are your predictions?
My predictions are in aligned with Kevin, but I will also say that I see a world where the brands will continue to deplete their field services, right? And the less of that supporting certain regions, the more of the need of managed service providers that will be out there. And so we have been seeing this for the last few years. It's just, and with AI and the way that we can automate and given the property self-serving or self-serving portals, that they could do certain things that used to require an IT person to have to go reboot, let's say, you know, an interface or things like that. Those things will go away. More of the help from MSPs for the properties will continue to rise.
Love it. And I'm sure you're going to continue those conversations next week. Before we sign off, we've actually got a question, so I'm just going to fire it at you in the comments. So Terence asks, Kevin, typically how many interconnected devices do you have in a 200-room full service property?
Oh, do I need my calculator or algebra out there? What's going on?
Sure.
Well, it used to be that, we could figure out the amount of licenses we needed based on occupancy, and there might be, we reduced the amount just to save money because not everybody had a computer. Now you have iPad, cell phone, company cell phone, there's laptop, 4 or 5 devices, watch, earbud, you name it. I got a Fitbit or whatever, there's so many different devices that connect to the Wi-Fi now. You could be walking in there with 6, 7 devices, just yourself. Times that by 2 people per room per hotel at 200 rooms. I mean, there's your math. I'm not going to show my work though, Terrence. I'm sorry.
A crazy number. Yeah, I think that's a very good snapshot. Just that what you just said, that couple of sentences as to how incredibly complex and how many devices there really are in a hotel, because each one of us already could have 5 or 6. I mean, that's nuts when you stop to think about it. So
that's just the guest side, not to mention the admin side, and then what the devices are in the room that are permanently in the room. I mean, just exponentially more now than ever. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder what the future holds. Okay. Interesting times. So I'm looking forward to speaking to you both after HITEC and seeing what the news is, because this is definitely going to be discussed, I'm sure, on the show floor. So thank you both for joining. And if anybody would like to reach out to either Kevin or Carlos to continue the conversation, DM them on LinkedIn, go and grab them at HITEC, and have a great day wherever you are.
Looking forward to it, guys. We'll see you there.
Looking forward to it. Take care.
Bye.